Hello again, dear students. I hope you are doing well and that you were able to accomplish your week 2 module. It is always my prayer that you are always in good health as you go through these modules and as you continue your studies. So welcome. We are now going to embark on our week 3 module. So before we start, I'd like you to prepare yourself, get your module, your answer sheets, pen and paper for you to take down notes, and prepare yourself in the accomplishment of this module. So are you guys ready? Let's begin. The title of today's lesson is Various Influences or Factors in Literary Selection. Now, if you're going to read a literary selection or a literary piece, you will see there a different background, different emotions, different information, and these things are being influenced by different factors. So in this module, we are going to study what are these influences or what are these factors that are seen in a certain literary selection. So we will be focusing on 4 and we will be discussing that as we go along. Let's start with cultural influence. So when we say cultural influence, this talks about the cultural background in which the author is being exposed to. So this includes the following. First one, human behavior. So what is the behavior of the people around the author? Second one, the vocabulary or the language used. And the third one, we have the human emotion or perspective. And then the last one, it could also include material items. So for us to further understand this one, let's try to take a look at the following scenario. Okay, so let's try to read the following. Let's read together. Now, these rich men's servants were always frying and cooking something good, and the aroma of the food was wafted down to us from the windows of the big house. So what do you think, or what are the things that you could infer or you could understand or you could imagine from the following piece? So it says there, the man's servants always fry and cook something good. So maybe it is a culture of the family to have party. It is the culture of the family to be always having dinner together or things like those. So those are examples of cultural influence. Maybe in the life of the author, maybe he has seen this kind of family culture or that he has experienced it in his own family. So this is an example of a cultural influence. It is a culture in his own family or with the people around him. Right, so let's move on to the second one. We have here your history or our history. So from its word, history, this is a record or an explanation of past events. So these things or these events that happen in the past in which the author has experienced could be reflected in the literary piece that he writes or that he wrote, and this explains the things that are happening in the selection. So to further understand this one, let's try to take a look at the example in the following slide. So we have here, father's farm had been destroyed in 1918 by one of our sudden Philippine floods. So for several years afterward, we all lived in the town, though he preferred living in the country. So as you can see, it is an event that happened in the past. And what is this one? It is the farm being destroyed by a certain flood. So in this situation, maybe in the following event, they were able to experience some difficulties, or they may experience some financial problem because of this sudden event. So from here, you could see there the turn of events that will be reflected in the succeeding part of the story. So there, the history could influence the way the selection goes or the way the story goes. We have here the environment. So when we say environment, we are talking about the circumstances, the object, or the condition in which one is surrounded. So we are not only talking about the weather, we are also talking about the condition, the situation. So for example, what is the situation in your house? How are the people around you, and others. So these circumstances could also influence the story or the point of view of the author in his writing. So let's try to study the following for us to further understand how environment influence our story. We are down to the last one. We have the economic influence. So when we say economic influence, we are talking about giving good value or return in relation to the money, time, or effort that are being extended. So how does economic influence the way a story goes or the way the author presents his ideas in a certain literary piece? So let's try to take a look at the example in the following. Let's read together. His house was so tall that his children could look in the windows of our house and watch us as we played or slept or ate, and when there was any food in the house to eat. Now, as you can see, the house was so tall and the children could look us in the window of our house. So what could you imagine? Maybe normally rich people do not like to mingle with those on the street. They would always guard themselves through the high or the tall buildings in which they live. So this situation can be seen in reality and could also be reflected in our literary pieces. So maybe the author has observed a lot of things where the rich people do not like to um, mingle with the poor people in the street, or maybe the author has seen instances where the rich people do not like to go out their houses and speak with people on the street and the like. So economic influence, as based on this story or based on this example, we could see there the differences between the rich and the poor. So we're talking about how money or how uh, the richness or the wealth of others influence the way they uh, react or the way they talk with other people. So there you go, economic influence. Yeah, those are the various influences or factors in literary selection. Let's try to go over them again. The first one, we have economic influence, we have the environment, we have the history, and we have cultural influences. So you could see these things when you read a certain literary piece, and you can further understand the point of view of the author if you're going to analyze these things that are being reflected in the literary piece. And that ends our lesson. I hope you have learned something, and I hope you have accomplished your module. Now, once again, please feel free to reach me out if you still have questions. Don't be shy. I will be very much willing to help you. You just have to let me know how I could be of help so that I can assist you if you have further questions about this. So once again, thank you very much. This is Teacher Lorna. I'll be seeing you in our next lesson. Have a great day. Bye-bye.